absolutely not beholden, but yet people who have already proven themselves to be engaged and invested, people that have already been in the trenches, having equipped themselves and trained themselves already. These are warriors that are veterans. You're not looking for noobs. You're not looking for guys that before they decided to file, nobody knew their names. So as Tea Partiers, we have an obligation to the rest of our citizens because you are more informed and engaged than most. You have a duty to spread the word because most of your grassroots candidates, without the big money behind them, trust me, what I'm saying here tonight alienates my own party from me.
So, sounds good to me.
That's right. So what? Because I'm not going to the party with my hand out saying, oh, pretty please support me. I'll do anything you say. I'm coming straight to you. We have to pull a Sarah Palin, really. We have to go around the media. We have to go around the establishment party, go straight to the voter and say, this is what I believe. If you believe with me, vote for me. Send me there. Because I promise you that if I don't follow through on my pledges, guess who's going to smack me upside the head?
There you go.
With 2x4s. There are people in this room who have committed themselves. And you ask me, well, how? How are these grassroots candidates going to go up against people with hundreds of thousands and even up to $1 million? It's because you're going to pour yourselves out too. In the Revolutionary War, there's a figure, a commonly tossed around figure, that there were 3% on the front of the battle lines in the Revolutionary War, and they were supported and fed and equipped by the 10% behind them. And then there was another 20% behind them that favored their cause but didn't get too engaged. They might show up on election day and that's it. We're lucky if we get them there to a primary. So I'm asking you, not just for myself, but for Robert and Rachel and the other grassroots candidates, be our 10%.
Oh yeah.
We cannot, I promise you, we cannot do it without you. Correct me if I'm wrong, when we were all wrestling with this issue of whether we were going to run for public office, which means we render up our privacy, our schedules, our family time, and I'm not whining. Trust me, we all went into it counting the costs. We knew the battle we were going into, and we count our state and our country worthy of the sacrifice. But when we were talking with one another, we said, how are we going to do this? We've got no money, we've got no big name backers, we don't have a network, and we certainly don't have a machine. And every single one of us said, I can only do it if I've got the Tea Party boots on the ground behind me. And that means we stepped up our game. We stepped up to take a swing. We're going to go there and we are going to fight like Austin or Washington has never seen a fight before. The Democrats cannot count on support and the Republicans cannot count on just hackery, just going along to get along. They cannot count on it. Because we are going to be beholden to the Constitution first and to you second. So, I wanted to, am I almost done?
Almost done.
All right. Okay.
I'm sure there's lots of questions.
No, we have questions in just a second. So again, I want to go back to how, because you know what, I said I wasn't going to ad lib, and I did anyways. All right, so we need volunteers. We need boots on the ground. We need word of mouth. We need money. And most of all, folks, we need there to be no compromise. I was in this room a couple weeks ago, and I talked to somebody who said, oh, well, I like him. He's a nice guy. We're in war. You don't send nice guys to war. You send the Marines. You send the special ops. You send people who have already been blooded and know how to fight this war. That's what it's going to take. No more Mr. Nice Guy. We don't have time for them to learn the ropes and then get sucked in, because if they learn the ropes, guess who's teaching them the ropes? The cronies. We've seen how it operates. We've seen it from the outside. We are absolutely bound and determined to go in there and break apart that old boy crony network. And by break apart, I mean break things. In Austin, in DC, it's called creative destruction. Things must be broken in order for us to make progress, in order for us to move forward. And in fact, that's almost a misnomer, because I'm really advocating moving backward to the roots and the intent of the founders and the framers of our Constitution. That's what I'm advocating. That's what I live my life for. It's what I've lived for since I was 17 years old, actually earlier than that when I was 12 and wanted to be the National Security Advisor. So let me read to you something, because I want to encourage my fellow grassroots with this. And it's by one of my favorite leaders, Winston Churchill. He says, never give in, never give in. Never, 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 never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense.
Amen.
That's what I pledge to you. If you choose to trust me with your vote and send me to Austin. One last thing before I close, and this is something that the Tea Party, we have it hanging in our boardroom where we have our weekly headquarters, at our headquarters, where we have our weekly meetings. And it is a pledge that, unspoken or spoken, we've all taken with one another. And it's found at the very bottom of the Declaration of Independence. This is our pledge to one another. With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. I pledge that to my fellow Tea Party board members, and I pledge it to you. Thank you. My name is Heidi Tees. I ask for your vote in HB 24.
Raise your hand if you know how many days the legislature meets in regular session. Robert?
I do.
Robert, how many days does the legislature meet regular session? 140.
Yeah, 140.
140. And additional special sessions as needed. How often do they meet? Raise your hand if you know the answer to that. Every 2 years, an odd numbered years. Okay. Questions for Heidi?
There's a lot of information in that packet. Please leave the packets on the table. You can go to the website and get it and critique it, but if you see something in there, whether it's my military experience, my firearms license, the fact that I sell guns, that always catches people's interest. Any of those things you want to ask me about, even my positions on issues, they're all there. There's even more. I've got opinions on everything, so ask away.
Oh, I do have a question.
Oh, okay.
You
Okay.
did great.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Nobody? Really? All that information and no critiques, no questions?
Very well put, very good.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for
Why
your
don't you
time.
talk about the budget deficit for a moment? Are we going to have a budget deficit? 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute. We have a known planned budget shortfall coming in the 2013 legislative session. They promised that they balanced the budget because they're constitutionally mandated to do so. But neither you or I would balance your family budget by kicking the can down the road on education and Medicaid, and that's what they've done.
No, I wanted you to talk about Austin.
Yes.
That is
It's
awesome.
awesome.
It's a different can, but
A lot of can kicking going on.
she is talking
Go
about.
ahead.
All right, so we have about a $7.1 billion shortfall on the low end, known that's going to come up on top of the regular budget issues. Susan Combs, Comptroller Susan Combs, just came out recently and conveniently mentioned that she's projecting that we're going to have, lo and behold, $7.1 billion in the rainy day fund. So our legislators are thinking that it's all covered because they think if we use emergency funds that it's counted as balancing the budget even though it's 2 years too late. And they used accounting tricks and gimmicks, like saying we have 24 months of revenue and balancing it against 17 or 18 months of expenditures. You wouldn't balance your family budget that way, neither would I. It's fiscally irresponsible. And we have to have, they had opportunities to cut spending. They had billions and billions of spending that was spending cuts that were proposed that they failed to either get out of committee or pass once it came to the floor. They did you wrong. 150 legislators, 101 of them Republicans, did you wrong. So guess what they're doing? They're scrounging around for more revenue. Guess where that revenue comes from? Us. All of us. Instead of cutting spending when they had a chance, they're going to come back to you and look for more revenue. Now, they've got some options on the table. They've got possibly more in the franchise margins tax. They're going to possibly propose the dreaded and hated state income tax. Or they might just try and get gambling. They're always going to be looking for more revenue. The point is that, as Rachel said so eloquently at the American Legion the other night, and I'm going to start using it, but I'm going to give her credit.
Get your own material.
I'm going to give her
I work hard on that.
She said very emphatically, Texas does not have a revenue
Oh, I
problem.
stole that one too.
We have a spending problem. So send people there to deal with the gosh darn problem. The problem is not digging into your pockets for more and finding ways to trick you into giving up more of your hard-earned money. The trick is in getting Austin to spend less than ever before. It's the only hope that we have.
Heidi and I have both gone to Texas Public Policy Foundation's legislative training classes. And these are not silly little classes. These are serious classes. The chairman of that group is Talmadge Heflin. He oversaw appropriations in 2003 when Texas had a $10 billion shortfall. Very similar to the situation we were in this last session. They solved it easily by requiring zero-based budgeting for our state agencies. Each agency goes back to zero and bills their budget. These are not hard. You just have to have the political will, the will to possibly not be reelected,
Right.
to get in their faces and say, oh yes, you will do proper accounting. Thank you for allowing me to.
That's okay. What she said as far as re-election, if all you do is send us there for one session, we will break it up. I mean, we will go to town. We will be on fire because that's what you're sending us there to do.